然后果酱去。
You remember earlier, someone had told the
应该还是
thief had tried to steal the diamonds. When the plane arrived, some of the detectives were waiting inside the main building, flying on the airfield. Two men took the parcel off the plane and carried it into the customs house. While two detectives were keeping guard at the door, two others opened the parcel. To their surprise, the precious parcel was full of stones and sand. Lesson 8. The best and the worst. First listen and then answer the question. Why is Joe's garden the most beautiful one in the town? Joe Sanders has the most beautiful garden in our town. Nearly everybody enters for the nicest garden competition each year. But Joe wins every time. Bill Fritz's garden is larger than Joe's. Bill works harder than Joe and grows more flowers and vegetables. But Joe's garden is more interesting. He has made neat paths and has built a wooden bridge over a pool. Gardens too. But I do not like hard work. Every year I enter for the garden competition too. And I always win a little prize for the worst garden in the town. Lesson 9. A cold welcome. First listen and then answer the question. What does a cold welcome refer to? On Wednesday evening, we went to the town hall. It was the last day of the year, and a large crowd of people had gathered under the town hall clock. It would strike 12 in 20 minutes' time. 15 minutes passed, and then, at 5 to 12, the clock stopped. The big minute hand did not move. We waited, and nothing happened. Suddenly, someone shouted, "It's 1 minute past 12. The clock has stopped." I looked at my watch. It was true. The big clock refused to welcome the new year. At that moment, everybody began to laugh and sing. For jazz. First listen and then answer the question. What happened to the clavichord? We have an old musical instrument. It is called a clavichord. It was made in Germany in 1681. Our clavichord is kept in the living room. It has belonged to our family for a long time. The instrument was bought by my grandfather many years ago. Recently, it was damaged by a visitor. She tried to play jazz on it. She struck the keys too hard, and two of the strings were broken. My father was shocked. Now we are not allowed to touch it. It is being repaired by a friend of my father's. Lesson 11. One good deserves another. First listen and then answer the question. Who paid for Tony's dinner? I was having dinner at a restaurant when Tony's heel came in. Tony worked in a lawyer's office years ago, but he is now and never paid his back. While he was eating, I asked him to lend me 20 pounds. To my surprise, he gave me the money immediately. I have never borrowed any money from you, Tony said. You can pay for my dinner. Lesson 12. Goodbye and good luck. First listen Greenwood board. First listen and then answer the question. Why will the police have a difficult time? The parts of the country. They will be arriving here tomorrow. They will be coming by train, and most of the young people in the town will be meeting them at the station. Tomorrow evening, they will be singing at the Workers' Club. The Greenwood boys will be staying for 5 days. During this time, they will give 5 performances. As usual, the police will have a difficult time. They'll be trying to keep order. It is always the same on these occasions. Lesson 14. Do you speak English? First listen and then answer the question. Did the young man speak English? I had an amusing experience last year. After I had left a small village in the south of France, I drove on to the next town. On the way, a young man waved to me. I stopped and he asked me for a lift. As soon as he had got into the car, I said good morning to him in French, and he replied in the same language. Apart from a few words, I do not know any French at all. Neither of us spoke during the journey. I had nearly reached the town when the young man suddenly said, very slowly, "Do you speak English?" And I soon learned he was English himself. Lesson 15. Good news. First listen and then answer the question. What was the good news? The secretary told me that Mr. Harmsworth would see me. I was very nervous when I went into his office. He did not look up from his desk when I entered. After I had sat down, he said that business was very bad. He told me that the firm could not afford to pay such large salaries. 20 people had already left. I knew that my turn had come. Mr. Harmsworth, I said in a weak voice. Don't interrupt, he said. Then he smiled and told me I would receive an extra £1,000 a year. Lesson 16. A polite request. First listen and then answer the question. What was the polite request? If you park your car in the wrong place, a traffic policeman will soon find it. You will be very lucky if he lets you go without a ticket. However, this does not always happen. Traffic police are sometimes very polite. During a holiday in Sweden, I found this note on my car. Sir, we welcome you to our city. This is a no parking area. You will enjoy your stay here if you pay attention to our street signs. This note is only a reminder. If you receive a request like this, you cannot fail to obey it. Lesson 17. Always young. First listen and then answer the question. Why doesn't Aunt Jennifer tell anyone how old she is? My Aunt Jennifer is an actress. She must be at least 35 years old. In spite of this, she often appears on the stage as a young girl. had had lunch at
红色是什么呀？
I looked for my bag
你得用红色剪刀，我不要这个。
beside the door, and now it wasn't.
No，我有手，我有手。
有红的呀，有这个小的小可爱。啊，送你。
好可爱呀！
The landlord smiled and immediately
它衣服是灰色。
in a few
里边是黑色
returned with my bag
Black.
and gave it back to me into the garden. He often does this.
张子璇，你按指甲按13分钟52秒。
Sold out. First listen and then answer the question. When did you see the play? The play may begin at any moment, I said. It may have begun already. Susan answered. I hurried to the ticket office. May I have 2 tickets, please? I asked. I'm sorry, we sold out, the girl said. What a pity, Susan explained. Just then, a man hurried to the ticket office. Can I return these 2 tickets? He asked, the girl said. I went back to the ticket office at once. Could I have those 2 tickets, please? I asked. Certainly, the girl said. But they're for next Wednesday's performance. Do you still want them? I might as well have them, I said sadly. Lesson 20. One man in a boat. First listen and then answer the question. Why is fishing the writer's favorite sport? Fishing is my favorite sport. I often fish for hours without catching anything. But this does not worry me. Some fishermen are unlucky. Instead of catching fish, they catch old boots and rubbish. I am even less lucky. I never catch anything, not even old boots. After having spent whole mornings on the river, I always go home with an empty bag. You must give up fishing, my friends say. It's a waste of time. But they don't realize one day fish waste. I'm not really interested in fishing. I am only interested in sitting in a boat and doing nothing at all. Lesson 21. Mad or not? Why do people think the writer is mad? Airplanes are slowly driving me mad. I live near an airport, and passing planes can be heard night and day. The airport was built years ago, but for some reason it could not be used then. Last year, however, it came into use. Over 100 people must have been driven away from their homes by the noise. I am one of the few people left. Sometimes I think this house will be knocked down by a passing plane. they travel faster. Lesson 23. A new house. First listen and then answer the question. Why is the new house special? I had a letter from my sister yesterday. She lives in Nigeria. In her letter, she said that she would come to England next year. If she comes, she will get a surprise. We are now living in a beautiful new house in the country. Work on it had begun before my sister left. The house was completed 5 months ago. In my letter, I told her that she could stay with us. The house has many large rooms and there is a lovely garden. It is a very modern house, so it looks strange to some people. It must be the only modern house in the district. Lesson 24. It could be worse. First listen, and then answer. Had the writer's money been stolen? I entered the hotel manager's office and sat down. I had just lost 50 pounds and I felt very upset. I left the money in my room, I said, and it's not there now. The manager was sympathetic, but he could do nothing. Everyone's losing money these days, he said. He started to complain about this wicked world, but was interrupted by a knock at the door. A girl came in and put an envelope on his desk. It contained 50 pounds. I found this outside this gentleman's room, she said. Well, I said to the manager, there is still some honesty in this world. Lesson 25. Do the English speak English? First listen and then answer the question. Why does the writer not understand the poem? I arrived in London at last. The railway station was big, black, and dark. I did not know the way to my hotel, so I asked the porter. I not only spoke English very carefully, but very clearly as well. The porter, however, could not understand. I repeated my question several times and asked Young children often appreciate modern pictures better than anyone else. They notice more. My sister is only 7, but she always tells me whether my pictures are good or not. On the wall, I answered, it's a new one. Do you like it? She looked at it critically for a moment. It's all right, she said, but isn't it upside down? I looked at it again. She was right. It was. Lesson 27. A wet night. First listen, and then answer the question. What happened to the boys in the night? Late in the afternoon, the boys put up their tent in the middle of the field. As soon as this was done, they cooked a meal over an open fire. They were all hungry and the food smelled good. After a wonderful meal, they told stories and sang songs by the campfire. But sometime later it began to rain. The boys felt tired, so they put out the fire and crept into their tent. Their sleeping bags were warm and comfortable, so they all slept soundly. In the middle of the night, 2 boys woke up and began shouting. The tent was full of water. They all leapt out of their sleeping bags and hurried outside. It was raining heavily, and they found that a stream had formed in the field. The stream wound its way across the field. Lesson 28. No parking. First listen, and then answer the question. What is Jasper White's problem? Jasper White is one of those rare people who believes in ancient myths. He has just bought a new house in the city, but ever since he moved in, he has had trouble with cars and their owners. When he returns, he always finds that someone has parked a car outside his gate. Because of this, he has not been able to get his own car into his garage even once. Jasper has put up no parking signs outside his gate, but these have not had any effect. Now he has put an ugly stone head over the gate. It is one of the ugliest faces I have ever seen. I asked him what it was, and he told me that it was Medusa, the Gorgon. Jasper hopes that she will turn cars and their owners to stone. But none of them has been turned. Lesson 29. Taxi. First listen, and then answer the question. Does Captain Fawcett think any trip is too dangerous? Captain Ben Fawcett has bought an unusual taxi and has begun a new service. The taxi is a small Swiss airplane called a Clavichord. This wonderful plane can carry 7 passengers. The most surprising thing about it, however, is that it can land anywhere, on snow, water, or even on a plowed field. Captain Fawcett's first passenger was a doctor who flew from Birmingham to a lonely village in the Welsh mountains. Since then, Captain Fawcett has flown passengers to many unusual places. Once, he landed on the roof of a block of flats, and on another occasion, he landed in a deserted car park. Captain Fawcett has just refused a strange request from a businessman. The man wanted to fly to Rockall, a lonely island in the Atlantic Ocean. the bank called out to the man in the boat, but he did not hear them. The ball struck him so hard that he nearly fell into the water. I turned to look at the children, but there weren't any in sight. They had all run away. The man laughed when he realized what had happened. He called out to the children and threw the ball back to the bank. What was Frank's first job? Yesterday afternoon, Frank Hawkins was telling me about his experiences as a young man. Before he retired, Frank was the head of a very large business company.
好简单，我就变大了。
In a small shop. It was his job to reach 1958. He bought a small workshop of his own. In his 20s, Frank used to make spare parts for airplanes. At that time, he had 2 helpers. In a few years, the small workshop had become a large factory which employed 728 people. Frank smiled when he remembered his hard early years and the long road to success. He was still smiling when the door opened and his wife came in. She wanted him to repair their grandson's bicycle. Lesson 32. Shopping made easy. First listen and then answer the question. Who was the thief? People are not so honest as they once were. The temptation to steal is greater than ever before, especially in large shops. A detective recently watched a well-dressed woman who always went into a large store on Monday morning. One Monday, there were fewer people in the shop than usual when the woman came in. So it was easier for the detective to watch her. The woman first bought a few small articles. After a little time, she chose one of the most expensive dresses in the shop and handed it to an assistant who wrapped it up for her as quickly as possible. Then, the woman simply took the parcel and walked out of the shop without paying. When she was arrested, the detective found out that the shop assistant was her daughter. The girl gave her mother a free dress once a week. Lesson 33. Out of the darkness. First listen and then answer the questions. Why was the girl in hospital? Nearly a week passed before the girl was able to explain what had happened. One afternoon, she set out from the coast in a small boat and was caught in a storm. Towards evening, the boat struck a rock and the girl jumped into the sea. Then she swam to the shore after spending the whole night in the water. During that time, she covered a distance of 8 miles. bicycle was picked up in a small village 400 miles away. It is now being sent to his home by train. Dan was most surprised when he heard the news. He was amused, too, because he never expected the bicycle to be found. It was stolen 20 years ago when Dan was a boy of 15. Lesson 35. Stop, thief. First, listen, and then answer the question. How did Roy stop the thieves? Roy Trenton used to drive a taxi. A short while ago, however, he became a bus driver, and he has not regretted it. He is finding his new work far more exciting. When he was driving along Catbird Street recently, he saw two thieves rush out of a shop and run towards a waiting car. One of them was carrying a bag full of money. Roy acted quickly and drove the bus straight at the thieves. The one with the money got such a fright that he dropped the bag. As the thieves were trying to get away in their car, Roy drove his bus into the back of it. While the battered car was moving away, Roy stopped his bus and telephoned the police. The thieves' car was badly damaged and easy to recognize. Shortly afterwards, the police stopped the car and both men were arrested. Lesson 36. Across the channel. Listen and then answer the question. What is Debbie going to try to do? Debbie Hart is going to swim across the English Channel tomorrow. She is going to set out from the French coast at 5 o'clock in the morning. Debbie is only 11 years old, and she hopes to set up a new world. She is a strong swimmer, and many people feel that she is sure to succeed. Debbie's father will set out with her in a small boat. Mr. Hart has trained his daughter for years. Tomorrow, he will be watching her anxiously as she swims the long distance to England. Debbie intends to take short rests every 2 hours. She will have something to drink, but she will
Hello.
not eat any solid food. Most of Debbie's school friends will be waiting for her on the English coast. Among them will be Debbie's mother, who swam the channel herself when she was a girl. Lesson 37. The Olympic Games.
这个红的不行，
这好狠啊！
我脸
The Olympic Games will be held in our country in 4 years' time. As a great many people will be visiting the country, the government will be building new hotels and immense
你说妈妈说手机拿一边，因为她到现在一首歌都没弹下来，已经40分钟，
also be building new roads and a special railway line.
叫一下。
The games will be held just outside the capital, and the whole area will be called Olympic City. Workers will have completed the new roads by the end of this year. By the end of next year, they will have finished work on the new stadium. The fantastic modern buildings have been designed by Kurt Filter. Everybody will be watching anxiously as Lesson 38. Everything except the weather. First listen and then answer the question. Why did Harrison sell his
门关上，太吵。 First listen and then answer the question. Why did Mr. Gilbert telephone Dr. Millington? While John bedside telephone, when he was alone, he telephoned the hospital exchange and asked for Dr. Millington. When the doctor answered the phone, Mr. Gilbert said he was inquiring about a certain patient, a Mr. John Gilbert. He asked if Mr. Gilbert's operation had been successful, and the doctor told him that it had been. He then asked when Mr. Gilbert would be allowed to go home, and the doctor told him that he would have to stay in the hospital for another 2 weeks. Then Dr. Millington asked the caller if he was a relative of the patient. No, the patient answered, I am Mr. John Gilbert. First listen and then answer the question. Was Mrs. Rumble a good companion at dinner? Last week at a dinner party, the hostess asked me to sit next to Mrs. Rumble. Mrs. Rumble was a large, unsmiling lady in a tight black dress. She did not even look up when I took my seat beside her. Her eyes were fixed on her plate, and in a short time, she was busy eating. I tried to make conversation. A new play is coming to the Globe soon, I said. Will you be seeing it? No, she answered. Will you be spending your holidays abroad this year? I asked. No, she answered. Will you be staying in England? I asked. No, she answered. In despair, I asked her whether she was enjoying her dinner. Young man, she answered, if you ate more and talked less, we would both enjoy our dinner. Lesson 41. Do you call that? First listen and then answer the question. What kind of shopping does the writer enjoy, do you think? Do you call that a hat? I said to my wife. You needn't be so cruel about it, my wife answered as she looked at herself. I sat down on one of those modern chairs with holes in it and waited. We had been in the hat shop for half an hour, and my wife was still interested in her. You mustn't buy things you don't need, I remarked suddenly.
First listen and then answer the question. What happened when the snake charmer began to play jazz? As we had had a long walk through one of the markets of Old Delhi, we stopped at a square to have a rest. After a time, we noticed a snake charmer with two large baskets at the other side of the square. So we went to
Follow me everybody. See you tomorrow. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
pick up a long plank which was covered with coins.
快睡觉。